Lazy Heinz by the Brothers Grimm. Heinz was bone idle. Though he had nothing to do but drive the goat out to pasture every day, he complained every evening when he came home. Honestly, he said, it's a devil of a job driving this goat to the meadow every day in, day out, all year round. It's not like some jobs where you can shut your eyes for a nap occasionally. No, it's a heavy responsibility. I got to watch every second to see it doesn't nibble the young trees, or shove its way through the hedge into someone's garden, or even run away for good. How on earth can I get a bit of rest, put my feet up, enjoy life? He sat down and collected his thoughts. They were quite easy to collect, because there weren't very many of them, and they all concerned the same subject: what a burden his life was. For a long time he sat there staring at nothing, and then suddenly he sat up and clapped his hands. "I know what I'll do," he said. "I'll marry Big Trina. She's got a goat as well, and she can drive mine out with hers and save me the trouble. Brilliant idea." So he heaved himself up out of the chair and trudged all the way across the street to the house where Big Trina's parents lived, and asked for the hand of their virtuous and hard-working daughter. They didn't have to think about it very hard, because they'd been wondering how to get rid of her for years. Birds of a feather flocked together, they thought, and gave their consent. So Big Trina became Heinz's wife, and every day she drove out both goats to pasture. Heinz had a fine time, with nothing whatever to do. He did go out with her occasionally, but only so he'd enjoy it even more when he had the following day off. "I'd lose all feeling for it otherwise," he said. "Variety is the spice of life." However, Big Trina was just as lazy as he was. "Heinz, darling," she said one day, "I've been thinking." Thinking was just as much of an effort for her as it was for him, so he knew what she'd gone through, and he listened with close attention. "What about?" he said. "Them goats," she said. "They wake us up ever so early with their bleating." "You never said a truer word," he said. "So I thought maybe we could ask the neighbor to swap them for his beehive. We could put it in that shiny corner in the back garden and then forget about it. You don't have to drive bees out to pasture, do you? They fly out and find their way to the flowers, and then come home again all by themselves. And they collect honey all the time, and we don't have to do nothing." "Did you think of that all by yourself?" said Heinz. "Yeah," she said modestly. "Well, I think it's bloody brilliant. I really do. We'll do it right away. Well, maybe leave it till tomorrow. And I tell you something else," she said, almost enthusiastically. "Honey tastes a lot nicer than what goat's milk does." "And it keeps longer too," she added. "Oh, Trina, darling, if you come over here, I'll kiss you." "Maybe later," she said. "Yeah, all right." Boy, they are lazy. Next morning they suggested this idea to the neighbor, and he agreed at once. He took the goats and carried the beehive over to Heinz and Trina's back garden and put it in the sunny corner. And from then on the bees did their work tirelessly, flying in and out from early morning till late in the evening, gathering nectar and filling the hive with fine sweet honey. And late in the year Heinz was able to take out a whole jugful. He and Trina put the jug on the shelf over their bed. Trina was worried in case thieves got in and stole it, or mice got into it and made a mess, so she found a stout hazel stick and kept it under her side of the bed. That way she could reach it and drive away the mice or the burglars without having to get up. Heinz thought that was another good idea. He was full of admiration for his wife's power of foresight, thinking about things that hadn't happened yet made him tired, and he never used to get up before noon anyway. "Early rising is a waste of the bed," he said. One morning, as the two of them lay there eating breakfast, a thought occurred to him for a change. "You know," he said, putting his piece of toast down on the bedspread, "you're like most women. You've got a sweet tooth, you have. If you keep on dipping into that honey, there won't be any left. What I reckon is, We ought to swap it for a goose and a gosling before you eat it all up. A goose and a gosling, said Trina. But we haven't got a child yet. What's that got to do with it? Well, he's got to look after the goose, of course. I'm not going to do it. When have I got time to chase around after geese? Oh, said Heinz. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. But do you think he'll do what he's told anyway? Kids don't these days. No respect at all for their parents. You see it all the time. I'll show you what he'd get if he doesn't, Trina said, and seized the stick from under the bed. I'll take this stick and I'll wallop him. I'll tan his hide, you see if I don't. Like this! And she whacked the bed again and again with such hearty blows that dust and feathers and breadcrumbs flew high into the air. Unfortunately, as she raised her stick for the last time, she hit the jug of honey on the shelf above. It broke into several pieces, and honey dripped down the wall and onto the floor. Well, there goes the goose, said Heinz, and the gosling, and I don't suppose they've needed much looking after anyway. Hey, it's a good job the jug didn't fall in my head. Where's that toast gone? He found it on the floor, butter side down, and used it to mop up some of the honey running down the wall. Here you are, darling, he said. You have the last bit. Thank you, sweetie, she said. I gave myself a fright there. We need a rest, that's what it is. Doesn't matter if we get up a bit later than usual. Yes, she said with a mouthful of toast. There's plenty of time, like the snail that was invited to the wedding, and he set off nice and early and arrived just in time for the first child's baptism. More haste, less speed, he said, as he fell off the fence. The end.